Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This month is all about Africa Overland safaris. Now if you've been dreaming of going on safari, you've done Southeast Asia, you've done Central America, you're like, I want to go somewhere more exciting and thrilling and just something a bit different, then an overland safari is perfect. So this week's video we are talking all about what is an overland safari and basically just kind of the overall premise, what happens and what you can expect. And then in future weeks we'll be talking about when and where to go, as well as what it costs and what to bring. So make sure you hit subscribe down below so you don't miss any of those videos, and give this video a thumbs up if you're excited for travel in 2023. So first off, I want to tell you about the safari that I went on, and then I'll give you just a general overview. So back in 2019 I went on an overland safari around East Africa, and hands down one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Don't worry, I'm going to cover all of the pros and cons and things that are amazing and things that you might have to sacrifice as well, but it is all worth it, I promise. So I'm going to talk more about routes in next week's video, but I started in Kenya and went down to Zimbabwe through Tanzania, Malawi and Zambia, and I went for about 6 weeks. I was in a group of around 20 people, and the tour company that I went with was Absolute Africa, and I will kind of talk about choosing a company at the end of this video. And I'm not 100% sure how all the other companies work, but with my one, because the company itself offered tons of different tour routes, people would jump on and off your tour group kind of throughout the journey, which was kind of cool and interesting. It meant that you could always meet new people, form different friendships, etc. More or less, most of us started in Kenya and Nairobi, and we had some people who had already been to Rwanda that joined us, and then they left after the first part of Kenya, and then we went to Tanzania, etc. So that's kind of how the group tour dynamic works. You have one guide, and he is usually a local. Our guide was from Kenya, so he spoke Swahili, but also was just obviously, familiar with the different cultures of the different countries and could kind of, obviously be our guide and liaison. We then also had our truck driver. He was so much fun. I can't even remember his name now, but he was honestly so friendly. He always helped us with cooking dinners and organizing the truck and the equipment and everything, and it was so nice. So first let's talk about day-to-day life on the truck, and then I'll talk about the safari specifically. So day-to-day life on the truck, you usually start bright and early, anytime between 5 and 7 a.m. depending on where you're driving that day, or if you've got an activity, an early morning game drive, etc. So if you don't like mornings, I mean, just get used to it. It's not that bad, and it's so worth it if you get to see cool animals and all this fun stuff. So our tour group was divided into 4 different teams, and every day you're kind of on a different task. So I'm pretty sure, as far as I can remember, there was the team that was cooking, and then the team that was on dishes, and then the team that was loading the truck, and a team that cleaned the truck. So because there was dust everywhere, just prepare for the dust. It did mean it was pretty intense. You were always around people and you were always doing things together, so it was really hard to get kind of alone time, me time. Usually that might end up happening when you're just on the drive to somewhere and you can put in a podcast. So get up, the cooking team makes breakfast, everybody puts down their own tents and packs up their own stuff. Then the team that's loading up the truck will help put everything away, and also the team that does the dishes will do the dishes after breakfast. Then usually after that you'll have your main activity for the day, whether that's a drive day, activity like a game drive, or just a chill day. There are a few in there despite it being pretty full on in the schedule. Then after you've sorted your activity for the day, or you've gone to your next destination, basically everything that happens in the morning happens in the reverse. So the team that's on unpacking and packing the truck will take everything out. You'll get your tent set up basically as soon as possible. Then the team that's cooking will start cooking. The team that is washing up dishes can kind of just chill until after dinner. And then also the team that's cleaning the truck will sweep it and do all of that. Now, lunches were kind of a bit hit and miss because you had to kind of provide your own lunch. Like when you would go to the supermarkets, you would get a few things that you can have for lunches, but it was really hard because you couldn't cook and there was very limited fridge space. So you kind of, like, I would recommend to just go with snacks and like granola bars, maybe like some bread if you can spare it, but it was probably the trickiest part of the day. Maybe a can of tuna, always a good shout. But the breakfast and the dinners were always a group effort and provided on the truck budget, basically. So I'll quickly go into what each group task entails. The first one that is pretty simple and easy, which is cleaning the truck. You basically just have to throw away any rubbish, sweep the truck because like I said, there's dust everywhere. I think that's like more or less it. It's very chill, very calm, and that's kind of like your day off group because obviously you don't need like, you know, 5-6 people cleaning a truck. So then you can kind of rotate it as well within yourselves. There was a few disputes in some of the groups when I was there, including mine, about people putting in effort and or just going off and like not putting in effort. Group dynamics are always a little bit, you know, tricky to navigate, especially when you're all absolutely tired and you don't have a comfortable bed to sleep in, etc. The next one was loading and unloading the truck. Again, controversial because some people would just, you know, go and do whatever they want and didn't help. But that's obviously on them, not on you. But just something to note, you know, people are still people. This one is also really self-explanatory. Everyone just unloads the truck. You help set up, you know, it's a fire pit for dinner. You help like set up the washing stations, or just put everything out so that the washing up team can all set it all up easily and set up the tables, set up the little chairs. Then the cooking team, so this is probably the most labor intensive of all of the responsibilities because it is cooking, and cooking for large groups is difficult. It's difficult without a proper kitchen when you're in like, you know, the middle of nowhere, just cooking on a charcoal barbecue. It's difficult, and you also have to cater to different dietary requirements. It can be a little bit touchy at times, and also, you know, you just have to cater to everyone, and not everybody is gonna love everything that you cook, and you just kind of have to be okay with that. At the end of the day, I would say cook something that's easy enough, you know, filling, tasty, because also you have all different like amounts of eating. Sometimes you have like these guys that eat so much, and then, you know, some other people, maybe females, maybe males, that don't eat as much. You got vegans, vegetarians. Luckily I don't think we had anyone that was gluten-free, but if someone was gluten-free, it would be, you would have to factor that in. But they do provide all the equipment like pots, pans, utensils, etc. to cook with, but they don't provide any utensils or plates for you to eat out of, or cups. So you need to bring your own little set of, you know, cutlery, plate, maybe a bowl, and a mug, because you'll probably want to have a lot of hot chocolates because it gets very cold sometimes at night, which you wouldn't think. So that's something you can factor in, but I'm going to be doing a what to bring video later on in this series, so stay tuned for that. And the last group responsibility is washing up. Also very self-explanatory and kind of nice because you can basically chill until after dinner. The only thing you have to do is set up the washing bowls before you have dinner, which just involves filling up, you know, one bowl with water and soap, one bowl with just water, because a lot of the time the campsites won't have washing facilities and you just have to all DIY. Now let's talk about the bathrooms and laundry and just kind of general self-care, and then we'll talk about tents next. So first off, usually there'll be some kind of bathrooms. It is very varied. Quite often a bathroom that is enough to have a shower. Sometimes it will be cold. 9 times out of 10 there will be some kind of sink or just a tap basically for you to brush your teeth, maybe wash your face. But yeah, warm showers are few and far between, so when you get the opportunity to have a warm shower, take it and wash your hair, because there's nothing worse than washing your hair in cold water, you know. And next, doing laundry is basically all by hand, okay? Even if you go to a place where there's some people who will do your laundry for you, it's all still going to be by hand. So for me personally, I was like, I'm happy to do it myself, so it's an expense I can avoid. I did just use the buckets. They provide some buckets that you can use to wash up, and you can get some washing powder, or I also had one of those Vanish soap bars, which was really good, and you can just go to town. Now there's this product called the scrubber, and I didn't see this till after I went on my safari, and it is something that I definitely wish I had, because it is just the easiest way to wash your clothes when you're in like the wilderness. I will leave a link to it down below. I 100% would recommend bringing one of those if you are going on a safari. So tents. This is definitely where the sacrifices kind of come in. I mean, like, washing your laundry by hand is kind of a sacrifice, but like it's not that deep. The tent situation, you're going to be on a mattress about like this thick, maybe 2-3 inches max. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable, and you just kind of have to deal with it for however many weeks you decide to go on safari. And like I said, it's one of those things that you sacrifice, but is 100% worth it. There are some things that you can bring to make your bedding situation more comfortable. I bought a satin pillowcase, and I ended up buying a full-size pillow from like this supermarket shop when I was in Nairobi before the safari. I also bought a 3-season sleeping bag, which I would 100% recommend. Do not bring a light one. Everyone that brought a light one was always so cold. Don't skimp on the sleeping bag, because it gets cold at night and you are in a tent and there is no insulation. Okay. And lastly, I didn't bring this, but there was a couple that did have an extra blow up mattress, which for them was worth it and helped. So you'll be sharing a tent with someone else. Obviously, if you're there, there was quite a few couples in my group, so obviously they all shared tents. I shared with this one girl for ages. She snored like a fair amount, but I ended up wanting to go into my own tent after a little while, just because, again, like I said, it's really hard to get your own time, and I just really needed my own time. But that's basically the sleeping situation. Now I just wanted to mention drive days. These are going to be long. There's going to be some long drive days, and you're going to be tired because you can't even sleep on the bus because the roads are so bumpy that you're just like gyrating the entire time. It's not comfortable. It's not great. Again, just something that you need to sacrifice for this amazing type of trip. Now let's get into the exciting part, which is the activities. Okay, game drive. This is going to be the highlight of your entire trip. This is where you're going to see the most animals and like have the most exciting experience, fingers crossed, because it really does depend on where the animals are, what they're doing, and you know, their vibe. I was really lucky. We got to see some really exciting things, like lions literally like a meter away from our Jeep. We also saw a live kill with like cheetahs tackling a wildebeest and like just straight up eating it right there and then, which was amazing. And we also saw the wildebeest crossing across one part of the river down the ravine. And basically these are 9 times out of 10 going to be early in the morning. So because that is the best time to see the animals, and that is when the animals are usually most active. They're going to be hunting or just moving around doing things. And occasionally you will go on an evening game drive. Sometimes you'll do 2 in one day, and you'll get to see the animals in the evening as well. Then some of the other highlights for my trip was going to like Zanzibar Island, which was beautiful. You know, got to party a little, which was basically the only time we really drank on the whole trip. I mean, there were like some guys that brought like rum and coke and like would have rum and coke all the time, and I just was like, I am so tired from the whole day that all I want is just like some water and to go to sleep. Water is another thing. You have to buy water over there. Everybody just buys these large water canisters whenever you go to the supermarket. I think there was a couple of girls that had like life straw bottles, which you can bring. It's totally up to you. You could just bring that and end up buying water anyway. Rail is another brand of bottle that has a filterage system that I would recommend. So I feel like I've covered basically more or less everything from the day to day. Now let's talk quickly about the company that I went with and choosing a company. So Absolute Africa, from my research, was one of the more affordable ones, but it meant that you did a lot of things yourself and you gave up more comforts. Sleeping situation, not that comfortable. The truck, not that comfortable. We didn't have aircon on the truck. You just had the windows, natural air conditioning. You had to do everything yourself, the cooking, the washing up, all of that stuff, but it was definitely one of the more affordable options comparatively. Some other ones that we saw while we were on the trip were Intrepid and G Adventures. I know those are two really popular ones, but they are more expensive, but you will be getting a little bit more luxury. I know on some of them, like, you don't have to do the dishes, they have someone that does the dishes for you, helps cook. They also have lockers inside the bus, like at the back of the bus, as well as like nice cushioned seats, air conditioning inside the bus, things like that. I would just browse around and find something that suits your budget and also your like desired level of comfort. Like if you're happy to give up those things, fine. If you're not, then, you know, prepare to pay a little bit more for it. So hopefully that's given a really good overview of everything you need to know and what to expect when you go on an Africa Overland safari. I will make sure to leave links about everything that I talked about in the description below, and please leave any questions in case I missed anything, because I'm just kind of going off my memory and sometimes I miss things. And make sure you stay tuned for the next week's videos, because we are doing all about when and where to go, because there's a ton of different routes that you can choose from. Then also we'll be talking about costs and going through that and what to bring, because I remember when I was preparing to go on an overland safari, there was really not a lot of info about what to bring, and also the only info was like, people were like, bring the zip off pants, which are so ugly. I'm sorry, but I don't like them, and you will never ever catch me wearing them. So I'll tell you some practical tips about what to bring and still feel confident and comfortable in what you're wearing. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, because I would love to have you here as part of my channel. Give the video a thumbs up if you found this useful. Share this with a friend that you would love to go on safari with this year, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.